There's a dangerous habit many people have. They think that by telling others their problems, they are finding relief. But in truth, most people are not listening to help you. They are listening to judge you, measure you, or use that information against you. Your problems are like an open wound, and when you expose them to the wrong hands, they don't heal you. They press on them harder. Today, I will show you why silence can be your greatest protection. Most people don't truly care about your problems. They are simply curious. They may smile when you start talking, nod at the right times, and even give you the impression that they are invested in your story. But if you look closer, you'll notice something subtle. Their mind is not on you. It's on the information you're providing. They are cataloging it, storing it, and sometimes even twisting it in their own mind to fit the picture they want to see. Your pain becomes an interesting detail in their day, a talking point they might share with someone else later. This is why telling everyone your problems is not the relief you think it is. It is often an invitation for them to satisfy their curiosity at the expense of your vulnerability. It's not that people are inherently bad. It's just human nature. We are wired to be more concerned with our own lives than with anyone else's. So when someone listens to your struggles, the reality is that their focus often shifts to how it relates to them, how it makes them feel, or how they can use this knowledge in the future. And the truth is, some people will disguise this curiosity as care. They might ask you, "How are you doing? What's going on?" But in the back of their mind, they're collecting details, feeding their need to know rather than their desire to help. You must understand, curiosity is not the same as compassion. Compassion drives a person to take action for your benefit. Curiosity, on the other hand, drives a person to seek details that entertain or inform them. The problem is, most people don't even realize they are doing this. It's automatic. But once you share, you cannot take those words back. You have handed over a piece of your life to someone who may not have the capacity or the intention to guard it. Think about the times you've confided in someone, only to hear your own words repeated back to you later in a different tone, or told to someone you never intended to know. That's what happens when curiosity is disguised as care. The information you give travels, sometimes quietly, sometimes loudly, but it travels. And each time it is told, it loses the context and the sincerity you had when you first spoke it. What started as a private truth becomes a public interpretation. When you understand that most people are listening for the story rather than the solution, you start to see the value of holding certain things close to your chest. Not because you're cold, not because you're distrustful of everyone, but because you are wise enough to protect the parts of you that are still healing. If someone is genuinely in a position to help, they will help without needing to know every detail. You do not have to open every door in your mind for someone to hand you a flashlight. Silence in this sense is not about shutting people out. It's about filtering. It's about asking yourself, will this person use what I say to help me move forward? Or will they simply store it as another fact in their collection? When you approach your interactions with this awareness, you will find that you speak less but say more. You will stop throwing pieces of yourself into the hands of those who are not prepared to carry them with care. Because in the end, it is far better to be known for your strength than for your struggles. When you share your struggles openly with people, you have to understand that you are also shaping the way they see you. Human beings are quick to categorize, quick to define others with simple labels, and the unfortunate truth is that the label they choose for you will often be based on your weakest moments. You may have 1,000 strengths, but if you repeatedly present yourself through the lens of your problems, that is what will stand out in their memory. You become the one who is always going through something, or the one who can't seem to get it together. It's not fair, but it's real. People rarely take the time to look at the full picture of who you are. They hold on to impressions, and those impressions are built on what you choose to reveal. If the first thing they hear about you is your hardship, they will attach that hardship to your identity. Even if you overcome it later, that initial image is difficult to erase from their mind. This is why it's dangerous to habitually speak about your problems without discretion. You are, in a way, writing the story they will always tell themselves about you. Think of it like this: your life is a painting, full of colors, light, and depth. But when you constantly talk about your struggles, you're asking people to only focus on the dark strokes in one corner of the canvas. Soon, they stop noticing the bright parts. They stop appreciating the balance of the whole picture. All they see is the darkness you've trained their eyes to look at. And over time, this changes not only how they see you, but also how they treat you. When someone sees you as a person defined by problems, their expectations for you lower. They may stop including you in certain opportunities, thinking you're not in the right mindset. They may speak to you with pity instead of respect. They may keep their distance, believing your life is a constant storm they don't want to get caught in. Without realizing it, you've allowed your struggles to limit how the world interacts with you. What's even more dangerous is how this affects your own self-image. When you are repeatedly met with a reflection of yourself through the eyes of others, one that's rooted in struggle, you start to believe that is all you are. You internalize the label. You begin to carry it like a weight, even when the original problem is gone. That is how people trap themselves in cycles of limitation. They accept the identity that was formed during a low point in their life. You have to be intentional about the picture you paint of yourself in the minds of others. This doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect or hiding your humanity. It means choosing wisely what you reveal and to whom. If someone needs to know your challenges in order to help you, share it. But if you are speaking just to unload, without thinking of the impression it leaves, you might be building an identity you don't want to keep. Your life has many chapters, and not all of them should be public. Protect the parts of your story that are still being written. Because once you let the world define you by one page, they will rarely bother to read the rest. Not everyone around you truly wants to see you overcome your struggles. It's a hard truth to accept, but if you look closely, you'll notice it. Some people are quietly more comfortable when you are struggling, because it makes them feel more secure about their own position in life. Your difficulties become a point of comparison that reassures them they are doing better than you. They may not say it out loud, but deep down, your pain gives them a sense of superiority. This is why you must be careful about who you open up to. On the surface, someone might seem sympathetic, nodding as you speak, even offering a few words of comfort. But beneath that, there can be a hidden satisfaction in seeing you down. They might even subtly encourage you to stay there by giving advice that keeps you dependent on them, or by framing your situation as something you may never truly escape. It's not always malicious in a deliberate sense. Sometimes it's just the nature of insecurity. When a person doesn't feel whole in themselves, they can feel threatened by someone else's growth. So as long as you remain in a weaker position, they feel safe. You have to recognize these dynamics early. Pay attention to how people respond when you make progress. Do they genuinely celebrate with you, or do they seem to downplay it? Do they get quieter when you're doing well, but more involved when you're struggling? That's a clear sign. People who thrive on your weakness will often give more attention to your problems than your achievements, because it keeps the balance in their favor. When you reveal too much about your struggles to these kinds of people, you're feeding a quiet hunger they have for you to stay beneath them. Your vulnerability becomes their comfort zone. They will never push you to outgrow the very problem that allows them to feel better about themselves. In fact, they might even plant seeds of doubt in your mind, not in an obvious way, but in subtle remarks. That's a good idea, but are you sure you can handle it? Or, I'm just worried you might be taking on too much. They disguise limitation as concern, but it's really a way to keep you in place. This is why discretion is power. The less people know about your personal challenges, the less they can use them, whether consciously or unconsciously, to keep you where you are. When you work on your problems privately, you rob those with hidden motives of their ability to feed off your struggle. And when you emerge having solved them, those same people have no choice but to face your strength. It's important to remember that not everyone is your enemy, but not everyone is your friend either. Some are neutral, some are quietly rooting for you, and others are quietly rooting against you. The difference lies in how they feel about your success. The moment you understand that, you stop giving everyone equal access to your inner world. You don't need the validation of people who are secretly invested in your weakness. Protect your growth by limiting their influence, because your victories will be far more powerful when they are revealed to those who never expected you to win. Whatever you constantly speak about, you give energy to. This is not just an abstract idea. It's a truth that shapes the direction of your life. When you repeatedly talk about your problems, even with good intentions, you are keeping your mind and emotions anchored to them. The more you focus on what's wrong, the more your energy reinforces that state of being. It becomes the lens through which you see the world, and eventually, the lens through which the world sees you. It's like walking in a circle. Every time you revisit the same complaint, the same frustration, the same pain, you're taking another lap on the same path. And while you might feel a temporary sense of relief from expressing it, you're not actually moving forward. You're simply strengthening the emotional connection you have to that problem. Your thoughts, your words, and your feelings start to orbit around it until it quietly becomes part of your identity. This is why some people never truly escape their struggles, not because they lack ability, but because they've trained their minds to live inside them. Every conversation becomes a reminder. Every retelling of the story deepens the groove in their thinking. Soon, even moments of peace are overshadowed by the habit of returning to the same troubles in thought and speech. Without realizing it, they've given their problems a permanent seat at the table. If you want to change your reality, you have to be intentional about where your energy flows. That means speaking less about what's wrong and more about what you're building, what you're learning, and where you're going. This doesn't mean ignoring challenges. It means refusing to let them dominate your attention. Problems need solutions, and solutions require focus. But focus and fixation are not the same thing. Fixation is talking endlessly about the issue, swimming in the emotions it stirs. Focus is acknowledging it, then directing your mind and energy toward the next step forward. This is also about protecting your emotional state. The more time you spend in conversation about your difficulties, the more you relive them emotionally. Your body responds to those repeated feelings as if the problem is happening over and over again. And over time, that repetition can drain your strength and clarity, making it even harder to take decisive action. But when you shift your attention toward action and progress, you begin to rewire your state. You no longer see yourself as someone trapped. You see yourself as someone building a way out. It's a discipline to break the cycle of speaking about your problems. At first, it might feel unnatural to keep them to yourself. You might even feel the urge to share because you want comfort or connection. But comfort without progress is just a soft place to stay stuck. Real growth comes when you learn to channel that energy into change rather than repetition. Every word you speak is a seed. The question is, are you planting seeds of struggle or seeds of progress? Are your conversations watering the problem, or are they feeding the solution? When you choose your words carefully and direct your attention wisely, you will notice something powerful. Your problems start to lose their grip on you, not because they disappear overnight, but because you've stopped giving them the fuel they need to stay alive. Real strength is often built in silence. The most powerful transformations rarely happen in the open for everyone to see. They happen behind closed doors, in the quiet moments where no applause is given and no validation is received. This is where resilience is forged, away from the noise, away from the opinions, away from the constant pull of other people's perspectives. When you're facing a challenge, it can be tempting to tell others about it in the hope that their support will give you the strength you need. But there's a different kind of strength that comes when you choose to carry that challenge within yourself, not as a burden, but as a training ground. Every day you endure without broadcasting your struggle, you are proving to yourself that you can handle more than you thought. You stop relying on outside encouragement to keep moving, and you start relying on your own discipline and clarity. There is a certain power in letting your actions speak for you. When you are quiet about your battles, you eliminate the distractions that come from other people's reactions, whether those reactions are positive or negative. Praise can inflate your ego and make you feel like you've already achieved something before you truly have. Doubt can plant seeds in your mind that slow you down or make you second-guess your path. Both take your focus away from the real work that needs to be done. Silence removes that interference. It gives you the mental space to concentrate fully on your next step, your next move, your next breakthrough. It's also important to understand that the process of overcoming is rarely glamorous. There will be moments of frustration, uncertainty, and even failure along the way. When you deal with these moments privately, you're free to learn from them without the pressure of an audience. You can adjust your approach without worrying about who's watching, and you can fail without the fear of it becoming part of someone else's opinion about you. That freedom to experiment and stumble without judgment accelerates growth in a way that public struggle rarely allows. And then there's the element of surprise. There's something deeply impactful about working quietly and then emerging one day with undeniable results. It's not about impressing others for the sake of pride. It's about demonstrating what's possible when you commit fully to your path, without the constant need to announce it. People may wonder where you've been, but when they see the strength you've built, the skills you've developed, and the challenges you've overcome, they realize you've been building in silence. That revelation carries far more weight than any words you could have spoken along the way. Silence doesn't mean isolation. It doesn't mean shutting out those who truly care or refusing all support. It means being intentional about what you share, when you share it, and with whom. It means understanding that the most important conversations during a challenge are the ones you have with yourself. Checking in on your own commitment, your own progress, and your own vision. In the end, the victories that are born in silence tend to be the ones that last. Because they were not built for the approval of others. They were built on the foundation of your own will. Peace is not something you stumble upon. It is something you protect. And one of the most effective ways to protect it is through self-containment. When you guard the details of your life, especially your struggles, you give yourself the space to process and heal without interference. You're not pulled into the noise of other people's opinions, judgments, or projections. You're not absorbing their fears or doubts. Instead, you remain in your own lane, working through your challenges in an environment you control. The moment you share too much of your inner world, You invite more voices into your mind than you can handle. Some will mean well, but even good intentions can cloud your clarity. Others will question you, and their skepticism will start to seep into your thoughts. And then there are those who will quietly root for your failure, masking it behind polite words. By containing yourself, you avoid giving any of these voices the chance to disturb your focus. There's a calm strength in knowing that you do not owe your entire story to anyone. You can choose what to reveal and what to keep. You can choose when to speak and when to remain silent. And in that choice lies control. The kind of control that preserves your emotional balance, even in the middle of chaos. Because when fewer people know your battles, fewer people can pull you off course. Healing itself is a delicate process. It's like tending to a fragile flame. It needs the right environment to grow stronger. Too much exposure to wind, and it will go out. The same applies to your inner world. If you expose it to too many conflicting energies, it becomes harder to maintain the stability you need. Self-containment creates a kind of emotional shield, keeping out the distractions and disturbances that would otherwise weaken your progress. This doesn't mean you never talk about what you're going through. It means you share selectively, with people who have proven they can hold your trust, and even then, only as much as is necessary. You're not hiding. You're prioritizing your peace over your need for external validation. You're making sure that your healing and growth are driven from within, not swayed by what others think or say. And there's another layer to this: dignity. When you keep certain struggles to yourself, you maintain a sense of personal dignity that can be lost when you overshare. You're not defined by the chaos you face, because you haven't given the world a front row seat to it. Instead, you're defined by the way you carry yourself, by the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can handle your own battles without making them public property. Over time, this habit of self-containment becomes a source of inner power. You realize you're less reactive to outside opinions, less shaken by negativity, and more grounded in your own path. Your peace becomes less fragile, because it's not built on other people's approval. It's built on your ability to protect what matters most to you. And the truth is, when you guard your inner world, you give yourself the freedom to grow in ways that only you can fully understand.